All right, y'all. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son, the Hamashiach, who some call Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Yehoshua, Yashiyah. We mostly know it's Jesus Christ. All right. We coming back again with the Lunar Sabbath. Whole bunch of comments. I don't think a lot of people watched the initial video. I can understand some of the comments under the live, but under the initial video that I did on Genesis and some of the sources that they brought out, I wasn't even combating some of the ideology that goes with the Lunar Sabbath. I was just combating their sources. And I seen very few people mention anything about, hey man, you know what? Them sources really did say this. Which tell me you probably didn't really watch the video and you coming in to try to defend something that that's not even being attacked in that particular video. But it is being attacked this time. This is the video for you to put your comments in and say, hey, you know, and make a defense to certain aspects and certain things that we're going to bring out and we're going to show dealing with some of the problems with this Lunar Sabbath. All right. And there's been many people, many camps, almost every camp has a video debunking the Lunar Sabbath. I've seen Wi-Fi, they had a video 4 hours, Lunar Sabbath obliterated. I also seen BOW 4 years ago, Lunar Sabbath obliterated. But anyway, one of the claims that Priest Hakah made, which, you know, sparked all of this, was he was trying to say that the weekly Sabbath, keeping the Sabbath on Saturday, was given to us by the Romans, and that the Romans forced us to do it, and he had sources to show that the Romans forced us to do this, and we come to find out that that was a lie. And the sources didn't say that. We went and vetted the sources and we read the source from Tacticus, and who else was the and Tertullian. All right, and Tertullian saying, man, Tacticus is really an idiot. Why would you even listen to him? You know, they're telling us that we had a horse inside of our temple, had a donkey inside of our temple because the donkey led us to the spring of water when we was walking in the wilderness. And, you know, we showed that, these were just theories that some people were saying, some people were coming up with it. Tacticus did not say this was something. And then this was something that they were doing. Is just, these were things that were, that were said about these people. And nowhere did we see an ordinance where it said Romans forced it. So that was problematic. And so, and if you're saying stuff like that, when you say that, you're saying that Christ kept the wrong Sabbath, that Yahweh Shai, through all his customs, kept the wrong Sabbath. And that now, you have this great understanding of how to keep the Sabbath and to do it properly. In this captivity, far away from the place where the Most High placed his name. Anyway, though, we come to find out, I was wondering why was Priest Hakah, why would he go to that level to try to show that us keeping the Sabbath weekly is pagan? Well, it's because everybody else has told him that the Lunar Sabbath is pagan. Everybody else has shown sources and proved that the Lunar Sabbath is pagan. And it comes from Babylonians. Comes from the Babylonians. All right, so Babylonians calendar. This is Wikipedia. All right, well, it's Wikipedia, man. Ain't got no hold. We gonna go to the sources. Sources down here. Hold on, let me show you the sources. Sources down here. See them down here? Citations. And we're gonna actually go to this one right here. This citation here, 13, in Hasad James Encyclopedia of Religion and Ethics. All right, you can go to Wikipedia. You can type in Babylonian calendar. And you go down to the citations, you can click there, and that's going to take you to our source that we will be reading from. All right, I got a couple of pictures clipped up of the source so we can zoom in on it. But 7-day Sabbath, here we are. All right, counting from the new moon. The Babylonians celebrated every 7th day as a holy day, also called an evil day. All right, they're celebrating this and governing it by the new moon. Okay, meaning unsuitable or for profitable, for prohibited activities. On these days, officials were prohibited from various activities. Common men were forbidden to make a wish, and at least the 28th was known as a rest day. On each of them, offerings were made to different god or goddesses, apparently at nightfall, to avoid prohibitions. Marduk, Ishtar on the 7th, Ninel, Nagar on the 14th, on the 21st, on the 28th. Tablets from the 6th century BC reigns of Cyrus the Great and Cambyses the second indicate these dates were sometimes approximate. What does it mean that sometimes they were approximate? Meaning sometimes they fluctuated. They were close, but sometimes they differed. Sometimes it wasn't just the 28th. Sometimes it wasn't just 7 days constantly. Sometimes it approximated. And we see that from these tablets. All right, it says the lunation of 29 or 30 days basically contain 3 7-day Sabbaths and a final week of 8 or 9 days inclusive, breaking the continuous 7-day cycle. So that's the whole argument. One of us have a 7-day cycle that we do not break, and then another, the other group, those under the lunar Sabbath, they're governed by the moon, but they don't have a continuous 7-day cycle, which is problematic. So what they end up doing is on those last 2 days, they call those days non-days, or they call them transitional days, where they don't count those days. So instead of them doing the 20, because for them, for the Babylonians, they saying 7, and some people do say 7, 14, 21, 20, 28, because not to say the 8th day. We're not keeping Sabbath on the 8th day. And so when you say, oh, well, the 7th day is really the 8th day, you already cause nowhere in it. It's always 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days, 7 days. But somehow now you saying that it's the 8th day. That's one problem. But if you're saying the 8th day, 8, 15, 22, what did it say? 8, 15, 22, 29. Instead of them keeping it on the 29th, they would wait till the new moon comes in. And then that'll be the Sabbath. So they'll float those 2 days. Floating days. Floating day doctrine. Non-work day doctrine. Transitional days. And we don't see that in the text. That is something that they completely fabricate. That's something that's made up. That's something that they got around each other and said, you know what? We gonna call them transitional days. And that's why I wanted to, see if Elder Tahar, if he can do a breakdown of where did you get this from? Because most of the people that's under the lunar Sabbath, that most of the camps that teach lunar Sabbath, it's GMS. Even if you're saying that Sakari or Genesis or anybody else, the camp that's doing it, they probably learned it from them. They probably learned it from Genesis, learned it from Sakari, but Sakari, Genesis learned it from GMS. Learned it from Elder Tahar. Side note, I seen a clip today. Elder Tahar had some of the Wu-Tang Clan in his camp back in the days, man. Would love for him to talk about that. How was it with the Wu-Tang? How was the older days? But back to the subject. So this is one of the problems, okay? This is one of the problems because we have recorded that the Jews have a continuous 7-day week. They don't break the weeks up. We see that in the text. It's supported by the text, and it's supported by historians. It's supported by the same sources that that Priest Hakah used in his last video about the lunar Sabbath, trying to say that we keeping that we pagans. When it comes to find out that y'all the pagans, y'all the ones gleaning from pagan customs. So sometimes this thing was approximate and they run into the same issues. 29 to 30 days basically contained in 3 7-day weeks and a final week of 8 and 9 days inclusive, breaking the continuous 7-day cycle. Now, why is that a problem? Well, that's a problem because we see in the text with the manna. The manna was given out 6 days, and then you went out the 7th day, and there was no manna on the 7th day. Okay. And that's the only ordinance that we have. 6 days, and on the 7th day, there is no manna. Manna rains down 6 days. On the 6th day, you get twice a portion, gather twice for you and prepare it. Because when you go out on the 7th day, there's not going to be anything out there. We have no other ordinances about transitional days or non-work days. What do? Where is the ordinance? Where is the guidance? Where in the text do we read how to collect the manna? How did our forefathers collect the manna during these these non-work days, non-transitional days? You don't see it in the text. You don't see it. Among other theories, okay, now this is a theory about where did the Shabbat come from. Among other theories of Shabbat origin, the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia of Isaac Landman advanced a theory of Assyriologists like Frederick Delitzsch, I don't know, that Shabbat originally arose from the lunar cycle. All right, this is a theory that they're gleaning from this Assyriologist. Containing 4 weeks ending in Sabbath, plus 1 or 2 additional unreckoned days per month. It says the difficulties of this theory include reconciling the difference between an unbroken week and a lunar week, and explaining the absence of text naming the lunar week as Shabbat in any language. You have nothing to support a broken week, a lunar Sabbath, 2 additional days, weeks being reset. You have no text to support that. And I asked the brother a couple of hours ago that hit my comments on a video that he did not watch. I said, do you have any verses, anything that can support your claim? He said, do you really need to claim that, we're not supposed to count the new moon? Do you have any? Do you really need? Yes. I need that. I don't need to be doing something, according to my own will. Like, I need to be doing thus says the Lord. Y'all trying to make something work that's not in the text. Matter of fact, let me just finish this up. All right. The rarely attested Shabbatu or Sabbatu, as the full moon is cognate or merged with the Hebrew Shabbat, but is monthly rather than weekly. It is regarded as a form of Sumerian. I don't think we need none of that. All right. But that's our main point, is everybody understands that it's very problematic to have a system of broken weeks where that last week ends up being extra days, or you breaking into the week and just reset. So you can either, some people gonna say, oh, well, we just float it over. When the 29th come, we don't keep that Sabbath. We just wait till the new moon comes in. Or some people will say we keep it on the 29th and then keep that Sabbath, and then when the moon comes in, we have another Sabbath and we reset from there. So we keep it on the 29th, say that happens on a Wednesday. 2 days later, the new moon comes in on a Friday. We keep the Sabbath that Friday, and that resets our week, which is problematic. All right, we don't see that supported in the text. Man, I had something up here and now it is gone. Well, it'll be all right. It'll be okay. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find it. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Matter of fact, no. What we gonna do? Lunar Sabbath. My content. History. No. Yeah. All right. All right. So we back. Let me see here. Hold on.
A day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls.
Now I'm now right here. They are, and again, this is Lunar Sabbath Debunk Part 2. This was 2 years ago when they tried to bring this thing up again before. They trying to stir it back up. I guess every few years it comes back up and we have to address it. To address the floating days, this is what they do. This is the defense.
A day of atonement. It shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It says, let me go to the, it says, and ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God.
Verse 32.
It says, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even shall you celebrate your Sabbath.
So now he's telling you, if the Sabbath is every 7th day, and you got a problem with transitional days, it's here telling you that you got to keep your Sabbath on the 9th day.
So he's trying to say that the Day of Atonement, he's saying here in this video that the Day of Atonement is telling us to don't keep your Sabbath on the 7th day. Don't keep your weekly Sabbath. Change it to the 9th. Is that what the Day of Atonement is telling you? Or is it telling you that the Day of Atonement itself is a Sabbath and you're going to keep that Sabbath on the 9th day at evening? It's not telling you that it's a weekly Sabbath. And so this is the methodology that he's using. This is the defense that he's trying to say, hey, you know what? How you going to be mad at transitional days when y'all transition your Sabbath when the Day of Atonement happens? We don't do that, sir. That verse ain't telling you to do that, sir. That is not what that text is telling you. Let me let you hear it again, because you'll be thinking I be lying.
So now he's telling you, if the Sabbath is every 7th day, and you got a problem with transitional days, it's here telling you that you got to keep your Sabbath on the 9th day.
So we got to transition. We got to transition our Sabbath to the 9th day. How many people put in the comments if when you celebrate the Day of Atonement, you have that same understanding that you transition your weekly Sabbath to the Day of Atonement? Basically, like y'all saying you only can keep 4 Sabbaths. So during Tabernacles, when it has a Sabbath on the first week, or during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, when it has a Sabbath on the first week, on the first day and the 7th day, the first and the last day, you saying you cut out 2 of your Sabbaths? Y'all transitioning to make sure that you only have 4 Sabbaths that month? Y'all making this stuff up. You making it up.
You know what that proves? Offsetting the 7-day week cycle to at one point or another.
And he said it proves that the 7-day cycle does offset. That proves that. Come on, y'all.
Yeah, because let's go back. Day of Atonement. Some people kept it in October, but most people kept it on the same or around the time.
All right, so. All right, y'all. That's all I want to show from there. Okay. This is the origins of the Hebrew Sabbath. This is a journal here. I'll put this in the description if you want it. Okay, that's the same thing. Yeah, I'll put that PDF in the description if you want it. Let me go to these pictures, y'all. All right, we said we was gonna read that Hastings Encyclopedia of Religion and Ethics on the Babylonian Sabbath. Okay. Let me see here, see if we can zoom this in. Yeah, buddy. See if we have any other pictures. Nope. Oh man. Okay, here we go. All right, the Babylonian Sabbath and 7-day week. It says this is the week, and this is page 8. You're gonna read through 889 to 889 to 891. Like 3 pages. The Babylonian Sabbath and the 7-day week. This is the week with which we are so well acquainted, and which Christians have adopted from the Hebrews, merely changing the day of rest from the 7th to the 1st day. All right, the Christians seen and observed and wrote down that the Hebrews or the Israelites were keeping a continuous 7-day week, 7-day Sabbath, unbroken. And they adopted it and changed it to the 1st day. And their 1st day is continuous and uninterrupted. All right, they copied it, but they changed it. But y'all copied the Babylonians. And you might have changed it a little bit, making it the 8th, 15th rather than the 7th, 14, 21. But that's what you adopted. Rest from the 7th day, merely changing here. However, Sabbath or Sabbatu, its derivative were not applied to the 7th day by the Babylonians, but another word was used which they evidently consider more appropriate, namely New Ugalim, from the Sumerian Ugala, which they translated by New Limnu, evil day. This was the 7, 14, 21st, 28 days of every month, so that as the Babylonian months, watch this, so that as the Babylonian months had 29 or 30 days each, every month considered, hold on, Shalaki, y'all gotta sneeze. Babylonian months had 29 or 30 days each. Every month consisted of 3 weeks of 7 days each, and one of 9 or 10 days. Okay, again, Babylonians having these floating days. We don't see that in our text. We see that described in the Babylonian text. Okay, because that's what you have to do when you're bringing in this methodology of following the moon. You also have to bring in the ordinance of what do I do with these extra couple days at the end. So they have it written in their text because that's what they were doing. It's not written in ours because that we weren't doing that. Don't leave yet, y'all. I ain't even got into like I said, we gonna summarize and just go through it real quick because y'all done heard it 1,000 times. You just some of y'all stiff hearted. You ain't gonna see it now. You'll see it another time, but there's plenty of information out there. Let me say that again. This was the 7, 14, 21st, 28 days of every month, so that as the Babylonian months had 29 or 30 days each, every month consisted of 3 weeks of 7 days each, and one of 9 or 10 days according to the length of the month. So that last week is always shaky. Sometimes 9 or 10 days. Okay, 2 reasons may be suggested for the adoption of this 7-day period: the 7 divine planetary bodies, and the fact that the period of the lunation may be divided roughly into 4 sections of 7 days each. The following is a paragraph given by the hermologies from the observance of the 7th day of the month as a Sabbath. I won't need that. And again, I showed y'all how to go down and Wikipedia has the citations there at the bottom. You can go directly to those sources. They'll show you exactly where they got their information from. And some of this stuff we just read on the Wikipedia. But a lot of y'all, want to use the excuse, oh man, that Wikipedia, man, that anybody could have wrote it. So we had to go to the source to show you that this ain't just anybody. This information is correct there. Sabbath Babylonian, notwithstanding that the Sabbath as we know it, may be a specifically Hebrew institution. there is every probability that it had its origin in Babylonia. Okay, this is a theory. It's a probability that that this thing might have originated, that they got this whole 7-day Sabbath stuff from Babylon. This is theories they trying to come up with in that country. However, it was not the rest day ending. It was not the rest day ending the 7-week day, owing to the Creator having rested from his work on that day. Genesis 2:2. It doesn't have that same origin story. Our Sabbath comes from the Most High resting on the day of creation, on the 7th day, and during that creation week. All right. But was due to a festival of the full moon on the 15th. That's all we got from there. And then I think I read that. You should have read that part first and then read the other one. This is the same thing here. All right, this is some AI. This is asking AI a question if you got an iPhone. It says, yes, the Babylonians observed a Sabbath that was similar to the Hebrew Sabbath, but there were some differences. It says the Babylonians celebrated the 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th of the lunar month of the high as holy days or evil days. Didn't we just read that from the source? The day of the week, the Babylonian Sabbath was not always the 7th day of the week. Like my brothers who keep their lunar Sabbath. As a lunar month could have 29 or 30 days, the last week of the month was therefore 8 or 9 days long. All right, origins. Some theories suggest that the Sabbath originated from the lunar cycle, with 4 weeks ending in Sabbath. Others suggest that the Sabbath was derived from the Babylonians' festival of the full moon called Shabbatu. The Babylonian Empire adopted the lunar calendar of the Sumerian city of Nippur in 18th century CE. All right, they were doing a lunar, but there are differences from the Hebrew Sabbath because we weren't doing lunar. All right. I think that's everything I wanted to show you picture wise. Oh, nope, it wasn't. All right, from the origins, remember, see, I was gonna put that PDF in there from the origins. All right, this is the last source here. It says, we cannot but notice how much this Sabbath of the Babylonian resembles the Hebrew Sabbath of the Levitical law. When it says it resembles, does it mean it's the same? It resembles it. We notice also that the word Sabbath in the form of Sabbatu was known to the Assyrians and is explained as meaning a day of rest from the heart. The Babylonian day of rest differs from the Hebrew. It differs from the Hebrew in not being always on the 7th day, because the Hebrew is always on the 7th day. Ain't no transitioning. Ain't no floating days. All right, you have other Sabbaths. You have high Sabbath, have high holy days. They're Sabbaths. They're days of rest, but it's not the weekly Sabbath. It's not brought in and conditioned and given to us because of the creation of the Most High when he rested. The Babylonian day of rest differs from the Hebrew in not being always on the 7th day, for their month followed the moon. And as the full lunar month has from 29 to 30 days, the last week must be 8 or 9 days long, just like all the other sources that we've read. Moreover, there is the unaccountable observance of the 19th day as a Sabbath in the same way as the 7th, 14th, 21st, or the 28th. Notwithstanding these differences, the calendar shows that the Sabbath, similar to that of the Hebrews, was known to the Assyrians and Babylonians. All right, similar, but it's not the same. Being that you have those transitional days. It's 6 days you're going to work, 7 days you're going to have a day up out of there. All right, it's going to be a Sabbath day. And then you reset. Let me go here. Let me get this off of here. Then there's, now let's just deal with, just deal. Again, I already gave you, talking about the manna. All right, we don't see an ordinance where the manna was collected an extra 2 days or floating days for the manna to come down. Also, there's a pre-notion that the moon governs all feast days. And that's not so. I challenge that. And I challenge it with not just the Sabbath, but I challenge that with first fruits. All right, it's first fruits governed by the moon. And when I say that, I say, well, you know, it's not governed by the moon because let's just read through this and we'll see. We'll see days that are governed by the moon and days that are not. Leviticus 23 verse 5, it says, in the 14th day of the first month at evening is the Lord's Passover. All right, we got a date for that. We got a day. So when the new moon comes in, we gonna count 14. We got 14 days. All right. And then the 15th day of the same month, all right, is the feast of unleavened bread. Is the feast of unleavened bread. All right. And so we see that we got what month? We got the first month. Okay. And we got the day. We got the 14th day, that Passover, and then we got the 15th day for unleavened bread. All right. In the first day, ye shall have an holy convocation. In the first day of what? The first day of unleavened bread. All right. You're going to have a holy convocation. You're not going to do any work on that 15th day. Ye shall make an offering made with fire 7 days. And then, you know, on the 7th day, you're going to have a holy convocation. That's going to be on the 21st. So you're going to have a Sabbath on the 21st. I guess they going to shift their Sabbath in a little early to accommodate that Sabbath. But again, you're going to have a Sabbath on the 7th? Or I'm at the 8th. You're going to have a Sabbath on the 15th. You're going to have a Sabbath on the 21st. Then you're going to skip the 22nd Sabbath and just jump to the, and then you're going to, you're going to have the Sabbath on the second Sabbath on the 15th. Then your third Sabbath, you're going to follow this ordinance and it's going to come on the 21st. And then from there, you're going to wait for the new moon to come in, which is going to give you 3 or 4 transitional days. Do you eat unleavened bread on those days? Are you still keeping the feast of unleavened bread during those days? Like, do you work them work days and then you're going to keep a Sabbath? So then you're going to have 10 days in between there. Then you're going to keep a Sabbath. Come on, y'all. We don't see that there. But what we do see there, what we're reading there is that we got a date, we got a month, and we got a day. Then we see here, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say to them, when ye come into the land which I give you and reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priests. When you're in the land and I give unto you, you shall reap. Once you reap that harvest, you're going to bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. What is the date that you do this? What month? Where's the day? You don't have one. And the reason you don't have one, the ordinance is that when you come into the land and you reap the harvest, the ordinance is the time is when you reap the harvest. That first fruits, that first sheaf must be given to the priest. And he shall raise the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Shabbat or the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. Okay. It's going to wave it after the Sabbath. What Sabbath? What date? What month? This ain't governed by the moon. This is governed by your harvest. And when that harvest coming, that first fruit of that harvest is given to him. When that Sabbath comes in, he's gonna wait till the next day, and then he's gonna wave it. On the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. All right. And ye shall offer that day when ye wave the sheaf and he lamb without blemish of the first year in a burnt offering. When are you going to do this? What day? What month? Since it's governed by the moon, what day or what month are you offering this he lamb? You're offering it when he waves that sheaf. And he can't wave the sheaf till you give him your first fruits. And ye shall offer that day, and when he waved the sheaf and the he lamb without blemish of the first year for a burnt offering unto the Lord. And the meat offering thereof shall be 2/10 deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor. And a drink offering thereof shall be of wine and 4 part of hin. And ye shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto the Lord. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations and all your dwellings. Okay. And ye shall count unto you from morrow after the Sabbath. What Sabbath? What month? What day? How are you? What day? And most people, because we're not in the culture, because we're not agriculture, because we don't have a temple, because we don't have a priest, we're just doing this directly off of after unleavened bread. Some people are. I think the little hats do. Or they keep it with unleavened bread, or they keep it on the last day and make that the first fruits. All right, everybody first fruits it's floating. It's a transitional feast. Because it's banks, there is no date for it because it comes in with the harvest. It comes in with that first batch gotta be given to be waived. And then once that is waived, what we see here, all right, once we've given the he lamb and so forth, it says, ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you bought the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. All right, you're going to count 7 Sabbaths from that day he waived it. Again, another feast day that is not governed by the ordinances of the moon. You don't start that count until that priest weighs that first fruit. Then you count your 7 Sabbaths. Even unto tomorrow after the 7th Sabbath, ye shall number 50 days, and ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. And you shall bring it out of your habitations, two wave loaves and 2/10 deals. They shall be fine flour, they shall be bacon, etc., etc., etc. Right? You shall offer 7 lambs without blemish of the first year. Okay, and the priest shall wave them for the first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord with 2 lambs. You shall reclaim the self same day of provocation. You shall do no servile work therein. It shall be a statute forever in all of your dwellings. All right, Pentecost. All right, the Feast of Weeks, the Festival of Weeks. It's not governed by the moon. We don't see you gonna do this month and this day. Why don't you see that? And then we go into what do we go into now? And says I might have skipped the nah, okay, we good. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses. Here we go for another one. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, in the 7th month, in the first day. Now we see the month and the date. Why? Because it's governed by the moon. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Then we go down to the Day of Atonement, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, also on the 10th day of this 7th month. Also on this 10th day of this 7th month. We go down some more. It says, and the Lord saying, we go down 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of the 7th month, the 15th day of the 7th month. Why is he telling you that? Because these things are governed by the moon. These particular ones. are governed by the moon, but first fruits and Pentecost are not governed by the moon. So you just can't say all the feast days governed by the moon. So the Sabbath is feast day is under the we ignore that these are the feasts that he repeats himself here. And man, just just the Lord just repeats himself sometimes just to give you the reason, to show you it's a difference here from the Sabbath in these feasts, but people don't take it as that. They're just saying, hey man, it's just a coincidence. It's just there. He just repeating himself. And so you can't use that methodology that the feast days do all the moon is governs all the feasts, therefore it has to govern the Sabbath, because the Sabbath is a feast also. And so that doesn't work. That falls short. Now also, of course, I just paraphrase for time purposes. Where we at in time? Because we already at 40 minutes. I lost y'all at 10. The average view time is about 12, 13 minutes. But even with Christ, y'all saying that the Sabbath is on the 15th day. Christ was died on the Passover. Why does the text say he resurrected on the first day? Why does they visit the tomb on the first day and he's risen? Why is it still the Sabbath if he was in there 3 days, 3 nights? Why is Mary going to the tomb? And let me just show it. Matthew 28, I think. Matthew 28. What I put my eye? Matthew 28 here. Brother said, I don't believe that. It says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the first day of the week. At the end of the Sabbath, if the Sabbath is Passover, and that's the weekly Sabbath, right? If the 15th was the weekly Sabbath, there's no way she could be here on the first day. All right. If this is the weekly Sabbath and Christ was in there 3 days, 3 nights, this would be the very next day. This would be the night he died. And, they're at the tomb in the morning. Joseph, getting the body down and all of that and giving them a burial, all that's out the door. All right. All that's out the door. If I use your methodology. So again, it does not work. We're showing you here that, he had a Sabbath. He couldn't have died on the Sabbath and then rose on the Sabbath. That's not the narrative. Then how can he be first fruits? If you know about first fruits and they told you going in that land the first 3 years, it's treated as uncircumcised. And then that 4th year is the first fruits that belongs to the Lord. 3 days, 3 nights, he risen and belonged to the Lord. Christ being our first fruits. But, brothers don't, that's not enough for brothers. Also, people brought out the 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel, we're not going to go through all of it just for time purpose. 1 Samuel chapter 20. And I'll just paraphrase it. 1 Samuel chapter 20 and 21. Both of those chapters. You got to read both of those chapters. I just start with 20. David fled from Noath in Ramah and came to the side before Jonathan. What have I done? What is my iniquity and what is my sin before thy father that seeketh my life? Is this where we wanted? Okay, it says, David said unto Jonathan, verse 5, behold, tomorrow is the new moon. All right, tomorrow is the new moon. Tomorrow is the new moon. Tomorrow also is the Sabbath, according to them. And it should not fail to, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go that I might hide myself into the field until the 3rd day at even. If thy father at all miss me, then said David earnestly, ask leave of me that he might run to Bethlehem, that he might run to Bethlehem, his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. That's why I was talking about that yearly sacrifice that would be happening. What time would that be happening, so we can know exactly what moon this is. And there are theories with that. That's something somebody can dig into. But it was like a family sacrifice that would happen yearly, something like the Day of Atonement, but for a family, not for all Israel, but for that family. He said, "Hey, you know what? David's gonna go down there and have this yearly sacrifice." But he told him that tomorrow will be the new moon. All right. Jonathan said to David, "Tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because the seat will be empty. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly and come to the place where thou hid thyself when thy business is in thy hand." And what ends up happening here? David said he's going to meet them. He's going to meet back in 3 days, right? In those 3 days, he's gonna come back and end up having to run. Let me rather have to read back here, back at the bottom of 20. As soon as the lad was gone, David arose. And it came to pass in the morning, this is 20 verse 35, Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David. All right, that third day, he was going to pull up on him. Little lad was with him. And he said unto his lad, "Run, find out now the arrows which I shoot." As the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. And when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Jonathan had shot, Jonathan cried after the lad and said, "Is not the arrow beyond thee?" And Jonathan cried after the lad, "Make speed, haste, stay not." And Jonathan lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything. Only Jonathan and David knew the matter. And Jonathan gave his artillery unto his lad and said unto him, "Go carry them to the city." As soon as the lad had gone, David arose out of the place toward the south and fell upon his face in the ground and bowed himself 3 times and kissed one another and wept with one another until David exceeded. And Jonathan said unto David, "Go in peace, for as much as we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever." And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. But when he pulled up on Saul, it says Saul's anger was kindled against Jonathan. Jonathan answered Saul, "Dave earnestly go for leave." Saul was angry. There we go. Saul cast a javelin. That verse 33 is what I was looking for. When David did come, Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him, whereby Jonathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Jonathan arose in the table in fierce anger and did not eat the second day of the month. Did not eat the second day of the month. For he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. All right, so that was the second day, and they would meet up again in the morning on the third day. And then what happens is we see David going into the running into the temple, running into the priest Abimelech, and he's eating the showbread. And the showbread is only made on the Sabbath. So we see this is day 3. He's eating showbread. Day 3 ends up being a Sabbath, and you could say it's a Sabbath because of the showbread. So the priest gave him the hollow bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread. That was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. Now the certain of servants, and this is the part here. All right, and understanding how that showbread works. All right, this showbread was going to be taken away from the Lord so that they can bake more. So the priest gave him hollow bread, for there was no bread there but the showbread. that was taken from before the Lord to put hot bread in that day when it was taken away. And if you understand that you know, that's not happening on the third day of the week. All right. This is sabbatical work. All right. If this is not the Sabbath, this is close to the Sabbath. He's preparing for the Sabbath. And David's eating that bread, that hollowed bread that's supposed to be for Shabbat. So this tells us that moon is not governing the Shabbat if he have that bread there. If David have access to that bread, this ain't governed by the Shabbat. What else is there? We talked about the Passover. We talked about the manna. We talked about I think that's everything, y'all. I think that's everything. That's everything that comes to mind. I didn't write nothing down. But I think that's everything. Yeah, that's it. That's it, y'all. The manna, showing consistency with the manna. David eating his showbread. You know, there's also, you know, people will say, well, how you supposed to operate on the Shabbat. You know, if people have defenses with moving, I wouldn't use those because, you know, we can show people traveling on the Sabbath. So I don't know if that actually works. With people moving and people traveling, even with people on the other end trying to say, well, you walked around Jericho. If you trying to say that we walked around Jericho, and that was unlawful for us to do on the Shabbat. When you go to like your Ezekiel 46, like they like to go to, and they try to, you know, and even that kind of, and Ezekiel 46 is the millennial reign, is kingdom connotation. You know, y'all gleaning from a dispensation that we're not even in yet. But it's Exodus 16. When they walked, Exodus 16, we'll go there and then we'll close out. Exodus 16. And it says, and they took the journey from Elam, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elam and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after departing out of the land of Egypt. And now this is problematic because this is the time we're in the wilderness, and we're guided by the cloud and the lamp at night, that little fire at night. Did they move on the Sabbath? Did they move? Did the tents? Did that cloud move so we can move certain places while we were in the wilderness? Did it move on the Sabbath? Or did it stay in place on the Sabbath? Because you're saying that this is a Sabbath day, the 15th day of the second month. You're saying this is a Sabbath day. If you're saying it's a Sabbath day, is the cloud telling Israel to pack everything up and let's move to the next section during their time in the wilderness? And I don't think, Scripture don't suggest that. I think the Sabbath day, that cloud is going to tell you to stay. You ain't moving on the Sabbath in that particular dispensation when they're being ordered by the Lord in the wilderness. But again, I yield with that, y'all. I pray this thing was edifying. Y'all be blessed. We'll see y'all on the next one.